No. So you know how long 1 minute and a half is?
It goes fast. I've been reading that in, there's no way to meet that.
But 30 to 62 times.
I know.
And Karen gets up and slap shit, you're not done, she hits you with the back.
No.
Depends on who it is, she's gentle. If you know anybody that wants to watch this, we're live streaming it on River County League of Women Voters.
Okay.
On Facebook.
Yeah, Facebook. It'll be there for 30 days,
It's 6:31.
Already 6:30?
I have that one.
It is 6:30.
Where did you have the clock? Oh, there it is. Okay. Let's give them another couple minutes.
Yeah, but we can go to start with
You've been here for a long time. You should. Those people doing that, Farr should come and visit us. They'll watch it when you're very surprised.
Which may very well happen. It's not gonna-
Just tell me when to start, that's when it's been recorded.
Hi, how are you? We're about to get started. You want to ask a question?
You have your usual plan. We've got it up here. I might glance at some say good now.
I've done all three of them.
Unless I get there.
You're asking the questions, you give the timing, and you're doing it.
Yeah, don't get very much.
Yeah, one time it was literally just me and Terry.
No,
Like
not
this,
good.
so
I don't know.
So my one. Okay, we'll go ahead and start. Like I said, we are live streaming this on Facebook under the Wheaton County League of Women Voters. We're also taking it on Zoom, so it will be available. If I can get it on YouTube, I will put it on YouTube. But I'll send you the link to the Zoom copy of it so that you can send it out to anybody that you want. I'll also send it to your secretary person. Okay, first of all, I'm Terry McCullough. I'm the president of the League of Women Voters in Weaver County. We're a nonprofit, nonpartisan group that strives to educate the public on people who are running, registered to vote, and issues and ways to be able to learn things like our last meeting was on how to determine misinformation from real information, because we're pelted with it every day. So we just try to do whatever we can within the community to be able to get people involved, not necessarily in politics, but in their community. This particular forums that we're doing now, we are partnering, we set it all up, but we do have 4 partners: Mormon Women for Ethical Government, Voter Way Forward, NAACP, and Women's Work of Art. And what they will use those for is publication. They'll send things out to their members. Okay, I didn't have one before, I used the orange notes. Okay, vote 411, I believe you've all answered vote 411 here, is, if you haven't, please get in there and do it. You go to that vote411.org, put your address in, pull it up, it will pull the candidates that will be on your ballot. They've got to ask some questions, and you can read a little bit about each candidate. That's the biggest comment we get. Well, I don't know who to vote for. Okay, well, get on there and read. You know, that's the thing you can do. I also would like to promote our civics event that will be on January. I have said January every time. We'll try that. It's September 27th from 2 to 6 at Fort Buenaventura. It's free. We have about 25 groups there with us. We're going to do focusing on civics, so games, things that focus on different concepts within civics. So there'll be trees, we have a cannon coming, music. So please feel free to bring anyone you want and come and enjoy it with us. Okay, how this rolls is you get 2 minutes to introduce yourself, and then after that I'll ask questions. You have 1 minute to answer. Don't really doubt it. A minute will pass by or we'll go very slow. Get to the point. And then you'll have 1.5 minutes at the end in order to tell us how wonderful you are. If anyone in the audience has a question, there's post index cards out there. Please go get them and just bring them to me with the question written on. Any questions up there? Then you're done at that.
We'll give you a 30-second.
Oh, Karen will give you the time. She'll give you the purple pad when it's 30 seconds left, and then the yellow when the time is up, and you have to stop. You have to keep everything really, even and go on here. We'll start with one person, each question I'll pass it, okay? All right, first of all, I want to ask you a question first. Tell us all about yourself, David.
Start here. Terry, thank you for having us. First off, appreciate the Weaver County Leading Women for putting this on for us. So my name is Dave Bowles. I was born and raised just down the road in West Haven. I have 5 kids. My wife and I agree and have raised our children here. My parents, Park and Peggy, have been incredible examples to me. My dad's a first-generation immigrant from Greece. So he learned the values of hard work, fiscal responsibility, and perseverance. My mom was a school teacher. So many of those lifelong values of learning, listening, service, and hard work have been instilled in me from just a young boy. I graduated from Weaver State in 2005 with a degree in sales and psychology, earning my real estate license later that year. For nearly 2 decades, I've worked in the private sector and worked my way up the ladder as an executive, helping to grow a group of companies that was later acquired by a publicly traded company called Reagan. As Vice President of Operations, I led teams, worked as the face of the real estate arm, oversaw high-quality services for our clients and services, managed multi-billion-dollar portfolios and budgets, advanced technology and platforms for and on behalf of some of the nation's largest financial companies. Now that my corporate career is kind of behind me, I've been fully able to focus on my private real estate business, where I've now grown and I'm a licensed real estate broker in almost 30 states. And I've learned a lot of things with local housing, real estate law, market trends, and strategic negotiations, specifically in property development. This has provided me with a newfound time and a flexibility to now give and serve as a full-time mayor from day one, and I look forward to bringing that experience and background to the Farr West. Stop.
Thank you. Okay.
I get the feeling.
You're next.
All right. So my name is Jason Anderson. I've been in Farr West for about 5 years. I lived in Utah pretty much my whole life. A little bit of time in California, Hawaii was 2 and 3, 4. So Utah my whole life. We moved out to Farr West though because we were impressed with what a nice community it was. It reminded me a lot of where I grew up in South Jordan from decades ago. It was a rural community that was growing. And I was attracted to that. It might be the same sort of place to grow up here. And that's what brought me and my family to Farr West. First and foremost, as much as I'd love to say I've got a whole bunch of credentials and whatnot, I've been on our planning commission a little bit, but before any of that, I'm a resident of Farr West. I have my family, my wife, and 3 kids, and those are the 4 most important people to me. And so when I make decisions about our city and weighing up the consequences of various options. I'm looking for a place for my kids to not only grow up, but hopefully be able to raise their kids to go to. Aside from that, from my career perspective, I've spent about 20 years now in the IT industry, mostly doing software development, but the last 10 plus years I've been doing a mix between software development as well as management. So I've had the opportunity to help lead, guide, and direct different teams in order to help large and small organizations achieve some pretty incredible enterprise level results. And I think that carries over here, not only from a leadership perspective, but also from an analytical perspective. I'm willing to weigh out different options. And then I've been on the planning commission now for about 3 years, I believe. And that's been a fantastic experience. It was a really eye-opening experience that helped me realize the whole nothing.
Okay, thank you. Katie?
All right, hi, welcome everyone, and it's so good to see so many faces here today, and so many people who want to be involved, and I appreciate the time you've taken tonight to be here. My name is Katie Williams. I currently serve on the Farr West City Council, and it's been my honor to be your council member for the past 4 years. I'm excited to continue to serve in this capacity, and to give you a little bit of information about me. I'm a mom. I have 3 small kids. I have twins that are 8 years old and an 11-year-old, all boys that keep me pretty busy. I am a proud Utah State graduate, go Aggies. I got dual degrees there in public relations and sociology, and today I work in the civil engineering sphere, doing public engagement, which is where we connect the public with infrastructure projects that may impact them. I am very passionate about representation and having some different faces and different ages involved in the council and in all the decisions that we make as a city. And when I first decided to run for this position, I learned that 47 of 255 city councils in Utah are made up entirely of men. So I'm glad to see some diversity, and I can't wait to see more, and I think that's important for what we do in our city. So thank you.
Jen?
Oh, my turn? Hi, I'm Ken Bickman. I'm currently Farr West City Mayor. Been mayor for almost 4 years now. Prior to that, I was on the city council for 6 years. Prior to that, I was on the planning commission since about 2008. So I've been in this hall right here quite a bit over the last 18 plus years. And even before that, I just came and sat in the back of the room and helped turn the lights on and off. So I participated in many formats in that way. So currently, I'm serving on the Bona Vista board as the vice chair. I'm on WACOG as the housing subcommittee, in the Trails Foundation of Northern Utah. WFRC, I'm on the Regional Growth Committee and Active Transportation Committee. On the League of Cities and Towns, I'm on the LPC, which is the Legislative Policy Committee, the Housing Subgroup, and Edge Community. So I'm pretty active in both county, regional, and state things. And just within Farr West City, I'm on the Housing Committee, Park Committee, Trails and Active Transportation Committee, Safe Streets Committee, Code Enforcement, Community Reinvestment Agency as the chair. Previous service, as I said, served on the council. And why am I running? I'm running for mayor again. I've always been part of the process in the last 18 plus years. I'm honored to be in this position where I believe I can get things done. I'm passionate, hardworking, and not afraid to speak up, and most people know about that. I'm no politician either. So I am who I am, and a little bit rough on the edges, but I will always work hard for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll start with Jason with the first question.
Sure.
What is your definition of controlled, sustained growth?
Well, how long, 1 minute? 1 minute, thank you.
1 minute.
Controlled, sustained growth. Well, so because the growth is in Farr West is growing, it's an attractive place. I moved here 5 years ago. There's going to be more people who want to bring their families and businesses to Farr West. And so my mindset there is, okay, well, how do we keep the charm of Far West without preventing growth, right? And I'm a big advocate for land and private property use. And so I feel like if you own land, you should be able to say what you want to do with it. I feel like that does need to fit within the general best interest of the whole city, which is why I think it's good that we have a general plan as well as zoning that's well thought out, put together. And I've been happy to be part of those conversations on planning commission. So I don't think there's a prescriptive answer to that. In my opinion, we have to look at each scenario case by case.
Controlled sustained growth. We in Far West have a very unique position in the communities along the Wasatch Front in that we still have open space. So this is not a decision that I take lightly. We have a general plan that should, give us general guidance on what these open parcels look like. And which should guide us to meet those metrics of meeting growth while maintaining the character of our community. I appreciate the work that our planning commission has done on updating the general plan, but it still needs some work. And I'm committed to seeking funding to do a comprehensive update of our general plan that has measurements and statistics and metrics. And I think it's important. We only get one shot at developing this open land, and we got to do it right.
Sustained growth. So Far West has been, I'm going to say, kind of on a roller coaster of development and growth, because when my wife and I and our family moved here in 2004, it was exploding. Bermuda was coming in like gangbusters. Mia Meadows and that whole area was growing like crazy. And then I think everybody knows somewhere around 2008, it kind of came to a screeching halt. And then, sat pretty dormant for a good long time, but now it's started to resurge again. We're starting to see a lot of opportunities for development. As Kate was mentioning, there's still a lot of open space, and I'm a big fan of sustaining the open space. I like parks, I like trails, I like all the things that are quality of life. I'd rather see all of that more so than condensed housing or any of that kind of stuff. So we need to do what we can, follow our general plans, and update it every once in a while. I've been a part of 3.5 updates to the general plan, because we're right in the middle of one right now. So that's a very important part of it. Thank you.
Yeah, I think part of that, it doesn't, I didn't push this. Is that better? I think part of that, it's important that the general plan is a regular review, and I would like to see that reviewed on an annual basis. I met with the Weber County Economic Director named Stephanie Russell, smart individual. She gave me a lot of input and ideas of how we could do that and how we could partner with them and with other city leaders in being mindful and cognizant of what's around us. As I've been going around the city, these are the answers I've gotten on some of these. They're anxious about the loss of green space, excited about new opportunities. They're frustrated by the increased traffic of what that could bring, and they're relieved to have new amenities. So there's a little bit of mix. It's kind of both. And the way to control that and be proactive is to have a regular review of our general plan.
Okay, thank you. We'll start with Katie on this one. Success of any project that you do depends on the support of the community. Tell us one thing that you would do to ensure the support is there.
Yeah, this is a great question, and I can give you a good example about when we had the opposite of it. And there's been a few developments that have come before our council that we've had a significant outcry on, and we've had this room full multiple times about developments. And I have an open line. My phone number is available. I took time to talk with each of those interested parties and express and be the conduit for their concerns and for their requests on this board while we were making those decisions and making sure that they had representation and they were feeling heard. And I think that every decision that we make has to be clear, and we have to account for every dollar, and we need to hear from every voice.
Repeat the question for me so I get it absolutely right.
Success of any project depends on the support of the community. Tell us one thing that you would do to ensure that the support is there.
Absolutely. So I'm a big fan, and I have been during all of our updates to the general plan and many other projects of ensuring that we engage with the citizens. Open houses, I would like to have more open houses on proposals than we currently do. But try to get people in here as much as possible and talk about it before we start going down the route of even making any decisions. Because, you know, we gotta hear from the people first, and that's the most important thing to do. So that's why I'm doing, just have a lot more open houses. Hopefully bring a lot more people in so they'll engage on that, because that's the important part. We've had quite a few open meetings and public hearings and stuff where nobody shows up. So unfortunately, that kind of makes the council, even the planning commission, feel like, well, why should we? You know, well, we should, because we need to get it out there. We need to do a better job of getting the word out to everybody as well, because it's more than just social media and websites and stuff like that. We could, you know, get around to every house, but that's not always easy to do, but we'll do our best. Thank you.
Yeah, I think a lot of that starts with listening, communicating to residents, obtaining new ideas and different ideas. A lot of times those ideas come from individuals or groups that maybe don't believe or think exactly like I might or like we have here. And that's important to get different opinions so that the more information you can obtain, the better the decisions can be. And that's how I would lead. I would like to implement new and different ways to be open, to be communicative with the city in different ways. I think a lot of good has been done by the mayor today. He does a great job on Facebook. I'd like to improve upon that as well and include different technologies to reach more residents where they're at.
Yeah, that's a good question. Most issues that we come across, especially once you start getting into them, are not as clear-cut, black and white as we often see them, especially presented in a tidbit on social media or the news. And that's one thing that's been eye-opening for me being on the planning commission. So the things that have been mentioned, things like town halls and open houses, that we already are doing those sorts of things. I think that's great. I think there are opportunities to improve that. Even with the social media outreach we've had and the success we've had with that, I think there are other ways we can get people involved. I'd love to see more things like surveys to send to go out to people, because like something simple like an online survey. But then use other tools beyond, you can go back to printouts, and setting up mailers every now and then. But yeah, I think improving the number of tools we're using, and getting more.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna try to combine this one here. Give me a creative idea for how to build attainable housing, not affordable, but attainable, so your children can go attain a home. So a creative idea of how to get some attainable housing here in Farr West.
It's my turn. Okay, attainable. I've always liked all the different words that they're using for housing. You know, there's affordable, there's attainable, there's moderate income housing, there's all of those kinds of things. Attainable, not exactly clear on the definition other than you can attain. I guess anything's attainable if you have enough money. But we also know that the prices of things are so high that sometimes they're out of reach. Some of the things they're talking about is perhaps going back to the old school way of building certain types of starter homes. Like maybe you don't have all the granite and all that kind of stuff. Maybe it's more linoleum and formica and those kinds of things. Even somewhere where there's carports and not garages, you know, in order to make them attainable to start with, but of course, allow them to do like, when I was growing up, we had a carport, but then we converted it into a garage over time. So sometimes that's how you start in a home, you can grow your home, and then, you know, go on from there. Perhaps that's one of the ways to get to attainable.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways that happens in the city, ADUs, mixed use, developments, different modifications to a general plan to allow for that. It does seem to be the popular trend right now to mix commercial use with, or commercial zone property a mixed-use development to provide for maybe higher density opportunity. But I think this is important. When we have the opportunity to do that in a city, I don't think there's too much land left in Far West to develop. I think it's critically important that when we have development opportunities to provide attainable housing, that we do it. We have opportunities to do that now in certain areas of the city. It's being discussed for different purposes, but to help attain that and really to help the governor's call to action to provide attainable housing, when you have an opportunity to do that in a small city with not much land left, we should try to do that.
Great things that have already been said. I won't hit too much on the mixed use aspect because everybody else has touched on that, it seems like. But the other thing I think we need to be realistic about, and this is kind of a back and forth with different residents, is nobody wants high density housing. But if all we're building are $1 million homes, that's not all that attainable. So finding that balance there is a tricky one. And doing it in a way that doesn't just put high density everywhere either. And so I think there's a few pieces to it. And then here in Illinois, actually really love, and that's, we don't need every house that gets built to be a 4,000 square foot, 5,000 square foot home that's on 30 acre. I don't think there's anything wrong with having neighborhoods like that, but I don't think that everything needs to be.
I really appreciated the resources that have been provided to us by the Wasatch Front Regional Council, and they have recently done what's called town centers, and they are areas where it's your typical Main Street feel, businesses on the main floor with housing above. I think that lends to a feeling of community, makes your community more walkable, and it gives us a sense of ownership and, you know, pride in our main street. So I think that's a creative idea, but I just want to iterate that I will continue to fight for these types of decisions to be made locally and not dictated to us from the state legislature, which has been a battle in the past, and we will continue to keep that autonomy.
Farr West this year must have their share of catastrophes, flooding, fires, deaths. Name one thing that you think needs to be implemented that would help in a situation such as this, that we don't have with us right now.
I think a communication system that reaches all residents. I know we have our website, we have Facebook, and we have a lot of things, different things like that. But a good example of that is the fires just recently up here in North Ogden. I have some friends who live up there, and a lot of the communication was Facebook driven, and they weren't reading a lot of the messages because they're not on Facebook. Some analysis on that I received from a very good friend that runs some metadata on that. The city of Far West reaches about 10% of the city on Facebook. That's daunting to me if most of our communication today is driven by Facebook. So you ask, what could I do? What would I do? There's a lot of technology out there. A big one for me would be trying to go to an app-based system, a secure-based system where residents can install an app on their phone. We use apps in our everyday life for everything else. I've spoken with some neighboring cities that are adopting that idea, and they're reaching a good majority of their cities that way.
Yes, we have I think a really unique community. It's one where people are still helping neighbors, I think part of that really be utilized. We have a lot of people who are in touch with each other. If we had some sort of organized neighborhood outreach group, not just on Facebook, but text message, phone calls, things like that, just neighbors looking out for each other, but in an organized fashion, that would help. And I think that could really be driven and organized by our existing CERT group that helps to deal with and prepare for these very types of emergencies. And I think the other piece of the CERT thing is we probably need to promote that more, because even when I was on the planning commission, I didn't really even know about it until just about a year ago. I probably should have known that sooner.
Well, I believe that the best response to a disaster is preparation, and we have our infrastructure in the city was all installed around relative to the same time, which means the maintenance on those are coming due at the same time. We need to be investing in our storm drain system, in our roads, so that we have appropriate access. We need to be doing upsizing of our storm drain to convey away floodwaters. We need to be replacing those things as they come due on age. I'm a huge advocate for planned maintenance and asset replacement and making a plan for having a system for replacing those as they age out and need that, and then helping to secure funding for that.
Hey, kind of going off of pretty much what everybody said, there are a lot of important aspects that we have. We do have the survey community emergency response team. That is critical to, especially in a big disaster, but they can be helpful in small ones too. Because they can organize themselves, they have trailers, they have all the things that they need. They have radios, because, sometimes cell phone things don't work, so they have all the radios they need. We just need to do a better job, and actually, I'm going to say get more people involved with CERT, especially younger people involved with CERT. Because right now, our CERT team, love them to death, but quite a few of them are older than me. So, it would be good to have some of all ages to do that. And on the technology side, I know there are apps out there, and they have some available that we could use, like you use for the, when the kids get lost. They have that where they can alert you. Here's what you need to know about. You can go to every cell phone and all that kind of stuff. So they do have that technology. We need to tap into it and utilize it.
Okay, that brings us into money. The budget is available for everyone to look at, and I believe that you've finalized your budget for this year. Most people have. Do you have enough money in that budget to be able to take care of the infrastructure that you currently have and in all of the services that you need?
I think I'm just right.
Yeah.
So I'd have to take a closer look at what our actual demands are, and especially if we talk about growth. We talked about the thoughtful growth earlier, it was different. But we can't just look at our current expenses, but need to look at where we're going to be based on the growth we're expecting to have. And that gets into the idea of making sure that we're preparing for infrastructure we don't have yet. So I would say that what I've seen of our city and what we're doing with our budget has all been really good. But I'd like to take a closer look at what the budget for growth is actually used for.
Man, this is a tough one. How do you distill all of that into a 1-minute response and hit everything you need to? Let's start with, we have been working as a council on a TIP, which is the Transportation Improvement Fee. This is a user-based fee that will be charged to all residents, businesses, proportionate to the rate at which they use our roads. The funding in the TIP we will use to replace aging roads, concrete, curb and gutter, and it is an equitable fee, not a tax, that is paid based on use. And we are in the midst of implementing that and adopting that so we have a permanent source of funding for our roads moving forward.
Okay, budget. Budget's always fun. We get to do it every year by law, and we also always have to have a balanced budget. So also by law, and we do a pretty good job of that. We've been doing a good enough job about that for a good long time. We have not had the desire or need at this time to raise property taxes since I think it was 2013. And that was, we only did that because of the increase in cost of the sheriff's department. So that was what triggered that, was that the sheriff's department costs a lot more than that now, so we know the costs are going to go up, so we need to figure out how to keep things balanced. We're doing all right, but as things grow, it's just like, okay, as soon as the new subdivision comes in, that's going to be more expensive for the city. Those are that many more roads to maintain, that many more roads to plow. If they put parks in there, we're going to have to maintain the parks, so it's just that many more miles of everything. So we need to be able to budget and grow, along with the city. We can't just keep doing it. We did it for a long time with just 5 people. Now we're at 10.
Yeah, I don't know specifically if we have the means to meet the needs of the budget, because I haven't been in city, doing that. But I met with Katie just, I don't know, about a month ago or so. And there's a vacant piece of land that sits north of Wapas. It's earmarked for a city park. It's been there for several years. So I guess I would answer that with no. I don't think we have enough funds in the city budget to meet the city's needs, or that park would be moving forward. So I have some ideas, and there's not enough time in a 1 minute answer. I posted some of that on my website, but as I've gone around meeting with business owners and business leaders in Farr West, they've provided me some great influence and maybe some suggestions on how we can work together to improve our relationships with business owners locally and also with community leaders, to tap into some of that untapped opportunity to improve the top line. In any budget, you want to improve the top line.
Okay. I'm trying to make sure I get all of these in there. Do you think that the city would benefit from hiring a city manager?
Absolutely. I think that the task that we're asking the mayor to do, however, he's great at it, by the way, and he's filling that role. I think that a city manager offers a specialized set of skills and knowledge that would benefit our city. I think that a city manager could help us identify new sources of funding for projects, could help advise the city council on these critical decisions that are coming before us, and could help us run things more efficiently in the office here with our staff, with projects. I think that a professional in that role could serve us well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, city manager. So I'm currently the city administrator, manager, whatever you want to call it, and the mayor, so I wear many hats. There are times when there is a lot to do, and it is kind of daunting sometimes, but I've been able to keep up with it. But as we mentioned before, we're growing. We're going to get bigger. We're going to need some professionalism and all that kind of stuff. I've talked with other cities and stuff like that to get some advice. There's kind of those that say city manager, but there's more that say city administrator. So city administrators, they do a lot of the same types of things. But the good thing about having city administrators or a manager is that would be continuity between administrations, because, you know, every time you get a new mayor, for instance, things just might go a different direction. Maybe that's good, maybe it's not. But there are certain things you need some continuity in just your day-to-day operation of the city. You need to be able to keep things constant, because no matter what, you gotta plow the road.
Yeah, that's a good question. And yes, my answer is yes, it would probably be good, but I'm just basing this off of feedback, and as I've been campaigning, I've met lots of individuals in the city, walked around, talked to a lot of people. There's not much appetite for increasing or raising taxes to accommodate a city manager, and that would be likely needed to do that. A city manager would make a pretty good salary, there's pretty good benefits involved, and to accommodate that request, you would probably have to consider that. So the feedback I'm hearing is there's not an appetite for that, and I would like to lean on input from the city before any decision like that is made.
Kind of on the heck of that, I want to look very closely at cost benefit analysis, right? Because I don't just want to be here on the city council, but I want to live here in Farr West for a long time. I want to make sure that it's the kind of place that I'd like to stay in. And so if we're raising taxes every time we turn around, because there's some new aspect of growth we want to consider, then I don't know, to me that starts becoming, for lack of a better word, taxing on people, right? So I want to be really cautious about taking on something like that, especially where we used to live in Harriman, my family came from. We had that kind of a person there, and Harriman has a lot of really great aspects, but there's also some things that were problematic, and it ended up coming down to that person's office as well.
Okay, thank you. What incentives are you planning or have you used to bring retail business or developers into your city?
Who's that go to?
Um,
Okay,
Somebody has to always keep track of me by halfway through.
okay, so incentives, incentives are one thing, but you know, it's not like we go out there and start going, hey, come look at us, that type of thing. What has happened recently is, knowing that there's an area that could use some, that in the general plan has been slated for commercial growth for a good long time. Pleasant View and Far West approached WACOG for some, road money to create a road, because this particular piece of property won't develop unless you have access to it. So we went and we got some funds for that. So that kind of triggered, and it actually did attract a developer who wants to develop on that property. So I guess what you do is you ensure the right things are in place to make it where they want to come in and do the right things for the city. But you gotta, you know, control it and do it the right way. You just don't let anybody in. You gotta be careful.
Yeah, city can offer tax incentives, infrastructure incentives to an existing business or maybe one that wants to come in. The TIF obviously has been discussed. So different incentives like that to make, not just to make the Far West, not just to make it attractive, but to create a long-lasting relationship with trust with a business owner or with a company would be my objective, is to try to build out a strong relationship with them. What are their needs? What are their wants? What are their desires? And how does it positively impact their city? And how can we be a partner in that?
So for me, it's a few things. And one I really love to focus on is I've been in a number of our meetings, whether it's city planning commission or even some of our city council meetings, where the language towards new businesses coming in does not sound really friendly. And so I think we want to make sure when we're developing policies for our city, we're making sure not only to protect our citizens, but also think about positive, responsible growth, which includes allowing some of that business-based tax revenue to come in, but do it in a way that's responsible, thoughtful for keeping our community based. Obviously, we're already doing things like what we have Far West land use going in, tax benefits, deferred taxes and whatnot for them. But I think the pro-business policies, which I'm a big proponent for, are things that would help local businesses want to be here, not just big developers from the state.
This feels like a targeted question.
It's what?
It feels like a targeted question. We're the only two that have been there, but,
The whole world knows when to offer incentives.
I think that this question of incentives is part of a bigger funding discussion and creating a sustainable tax base for our future. For quite some time, we have been able to sustain our city budget with sales tax, and that's been the reason we haven't needed to rely on tax increases to property tax, which come to you, the residents, because we have a strong sales tax base. But as we see more developments coming in, we want to reap the benefits of those ones that help develop that sales tax base. And so, you know, not entirely against those incentives for growth, but knowing that, you know, what's the cost benefit there to us.
Thank you. I don't remember that one. I guess what the question appears to be is, are you okay with giving people a break, like on taxes if they come in, or impact fees, or, you know, are you okay with allowing that to happen, or not charging the taxes for 5 years like they've done in a couple of other cities? Is that an okay way to attract business, or are you not supportive of that?
Is it me? Well, I think there's a fine line probably there, especially when you're working with a development group or a business opportunity. The impact fees, that's an upfront payment to ensure that new growth and that development idea, that to ensure that the infrastructure that's required, such as roads, water, sewer, parks, whatever it is, to make sure that it's not a burden on us as residents and the city. So I would be very, very careful at just waiving the impact fees. I think every business or developer or development opportunity should have to pay their way into participating or being a member of your city, just like everybody else. And there shouldn't be any favors or special waiver incentives or impact fees for one year versus another. I think everyone should pay their fair share.
And I think it needs to be a case by case basis, looking at cost versus benefit. I mean, are we selling ourselves out in order to bring some business that might bring a little bit of tax revenue, sales tax, or are we talking about something very substantial that's going to have a long-term impact? And so the way that Farr West Land, for example, they lay out a lot of those benefits, and a lot of them sound like in the long run will benefit as a city. To offer those kinds of incentives. But as far as whether or not I'm okay with it, it just kind of depends on the situation. It needs to be worth it to the city. It's not just sell out. Because I think it was Katie mentioned this earlier. We only develop land once, and then it's in. And so I want to make sure we do it the right way and not just give it up.
Okay, little background for you. Every year I sit here in the budget discussions and listen to our treasurer tell us that funding for our city is a three-legged stool. We get a third of that funding from sales tax, we get a third of it from fees, and a third of it from property tax. If there was a way with which we could make up a third of our budget by eliminating property tax or, or providing some of these large incentives, then sure, let's explore that. But that's a big deficit to make up, and that's a big hole in the budget. And to rely on just two sources of funding for things like that makes you vulnerable as a city to changes in the market, changes in the housing economy. So it's prudent for us as a city to diversify our sources of funding and not rely on one set type of funding for our city budget.
Okay. I can talk pretty specifically about this because we're in the middle of negotiating something like this right now. So there is some incentives where we have, we've discussed, and actually we ran it past Public Works. So as far as like impact fees, it was like, what would be impacted if we waived impact fees on this, that, or the other thing? They're like, okay, we're okay in that area for the impact fees, but then they looked at, but what we will have is the utility fees forever. So it's like, okay, you're balancing the short term against the long term. So anytime you're doing that, you kind of have to do that. Is it going to benefit us in the long run to do a little bit of short term help? Then, if it is, then it's something for us to consider. We talk about it at length as a council and as a board, and as a planning commission, all those kinds of things. And we make sure that we run it past our public works because they're the ones that know what kinds of things they need.
Tell us your definition of transparency.
So I think things like what we do right now are already a really great step where we record and if possible, we've had some technical challenges in the meetings lately, but we will live stream our meetings. Anytime we have a quorum of members of planning commission or city council, those are all recorded meetings. And then I think that's a great start. There are other meetings that take place. It'd be great to see the outcome of those meetings. I know not everything can be recorded and published, but at the same time, I know there are plenty of discussions that even though I'm on the planning commission, I'm not part of them. I kind of get surprised by them. And to be fair, our planning commission does a really good job getting that information on ACP, but I'm on the commission hearing about those things. Most residents, I think, would benefit from some sort of additional information about what's going on at a more frequent basis.
As it relates to transparency, I believe that every resident in our city deserves to know how the decisions on this body are made. I also believe that that is a two-way conversation. It is not me telling you how we're going to do things. It is an open discussion, because at the end of the day, we sit here to represent you as citizens. I think that these decisions need to be made out in the open, input from the residents, from businesses, and I think that we should be clear and make sure that every voice is heard.
Hey, I'm a big fan of getting the word out to as many people as possible, as often as possible. I think it annoys people with how much I'd like to be transparent and share things with everybody. Jen, she's agreeing with me. So, it's very important to make sure that the residents of Farr West know what we're up to, and what each of us are up to, and where we're going, and what we're planning. And I love what Katie said about it being a two-way street. We can put all the information out there that you want us to, but if nobody's reading it, or paying attention, or asking questions about it, then it's all we're doing is, I don't know if we're yelling at the wind. Sometimes we feel that way, especially, I think it's almost every meeting when we ask for public comments, there are either none or few, and I would love to see that change. More interaction with the residents. They need to come, or we won't bite, but we will listen, and we always have. Thank you.
Come to North Ogden, they have lots of public comments. What do you think? Oh, I'm sorry. I told you I'll lose you in a minute.
No problem. I'll be quick. I'd add all the things they've said great things. Our planning commission, our city council, they do a great job of trying to include and promote that. I think I just maybe added that a little bit. In addition to being open and honest, I think being accountable is a big thing. And being able to be held to account, being able to take maybe the hard love or the hard information or the hard feedback, and then becoming better from it. And I've tried to do that in my personal life. I've tried to do that in my private life. And then maybe just the last thing I'd add is being visible, being out there. I would add that as a component.
Okay, now, do we get them all? What do you feel is the biggest challenge for Farr West right now?
I think it's that development question, going back to the fact that most municipalities along the Wasatch Front are 100% built out, and we are currently seeing and looking down the barrel of a huge boom in our population, and we need to be preparing for that now. And devising strategies to meet that future growth. I believe that Farr West is a city where everyone should have a place to live and feel like a community at every stage of their life. And we need to be planning for that now and not be caught off guard by it when it smacks us in the face.
Okay, so I think one of the biggest challenges we have, I'm going to say one word, infrastructure. We have a lot of challenges in Farr West with infrastructure because we have so many things in the way. And what I mean by that is we have I-15 going right through the middle of us. You don't just cross over it or under it easily. We have a canal that's not too far from that is hard to get over and under. Highway 126, which for some reason they put right next to I-15, which makes it very difficult for traffic. I mean, there's barely enough room there. So infrastructure. We need to be able to get people circulating, moving, and all those things in order to, for emergency reasons, for economic reasons, even for pleasure reasons. I would love to have more, like I say, trails and all that throughout the city, so that we quit driving everywhere. That's one way to reduce traffic is, right about it.
Yeah, I'd agree with everything that's been said. I think the biggest thing the biggest problem in Farr West, from the feedback that I've received from my efforts, is by far is 2700 interchange. 2,700 and 2,000, right there on the two UDOT roads. There was a tragedy there late last year. It continues to be a problem, and with all the development that has been discussed, the proposed high density and all of the other things going on, that's just gonna add to that problem. And I know it's a UDOT road, it's outside of the city, but I think that would be a focus of mine, is to try to really improve that and improve that ongoing squeaky wheel with the state to help do something in that area. And then obviously the trail access for runners and bikers. I'm a runner on the roads, and I would love to see that improve as well.
Okay, thank you.
Man, ready for ditto here. I think we all know what the new problem is, but 2700 North Corridor access to I-15, it's not just our city that needs access to that, but we're providing everybody else east and west of us access to I-15. So that makes it all that much more important for us to get this, that whole area figured out. It's not just 2700 North, but it's got several sequential lights that probably could be, without a solution here tonight, enhanced in various ways. It could be made better. The other aspect of that, and this is I put on my website, is one of the main things for me is I get a lot of complaints I hear from neighbors and others about just traffic safety, not just efficiency, but safety in general. And I'd love to see what we can do to keep making that safer, which is part of why I help get the traffic committee going that we've got. We're collecting data from those speed signs and helping our officers get information out from me. Sorry.
Okay, I'm gonna try to put these two together too. Water's always an issue, and especially with the growth we're gonna have. Every city has a lot of issues, it seems like. What do you feel that you could implement that would conserve more water within Far West? And I'm gonna tie that to a ditch. And you put storm water down a ditch, private ditch, but no one wants to maintain it. How do you remedy that? So storms go down irrigation ditches that are private, and then, so you put the water down there, but it doesn't help to maintain any of the ditches. So how are you gonna conserve water? We might have to give you a minute, 15 seconds. How are you gonna conserve water or an idea for conserving water and talk about the ditch and the stormwater? We don't have that, so I'm kind of lost on that one, but you understand. Let's see, Ken.
Is it me? Okay. Yes, so we absolutely do have these common waterways is what I'll call them. Sometimes we call them drains, and that's when they're storm water. Other times we call them ditches, and that's when it's western irrigation. So we have western drain and western irrigation. And apparently the water is different colors or something, because you're not supposed to put them in the same streams, but we do. And we have cooperative agreements and stuff like that. When it comes to the irrigation water, it's always going to wind up in the stormwater system with tailwater and all those other things. I've learned lots about that in the last few months having to do with water. But we have, so the ditch folks, the shareholders maintain their ditches, and the city maintains the stormwater systems. So, and sometimes we have to work together, which is a good thing, to agree on, how we're going to keep them clear and keep them flowing, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously a challenge in our state, we live in a desert. So trying to think ahead and plan ahead and using common sense ordinances to conserve water, being an example as a city, dry scaping where you can, making implementations to go to dry scape would be certainly, I think, an advantageous thing to our city. As far as the drainage question, part of the question, I think that might be relating more to the recent floods that we might have had here with the storm. It was obviously a record storm, so I'm not pointing blame at all. But I did have a city engineer reach out to me in another area and inform me that there's a way to fix that problem. And it does cost money. It would probably create the requirement of additional ponds different drainage techniques, but there is a way to fix that problem. It's been a problem here in Far West in some of our neighborhoods for many, many years, and I would like to try to tackle that. It's important.
Yeah, so as far as the first part, water conservation, the city's already made a lot of progress there. Plus, the secondary, water suppliers that we have, been moving to metered water, so people are gonna get billed based on their usage. And that's certainly gonna be helpful, but I think that as far as the city itself can implement that, dry seeping is a really good opportunity, but also there's new types of turf that are coming out, and they're supposed to perform a lot better from a water perspective. As far as the ditches, yeah, I think I understood that right, as maintaining existing ditches. I would imagine whoever owns those, if he wants to help pay for that, if there's something the city is involved in that, I'm aware of that.
As a council member, I was here when we implemented our Flip the Strip program, which is changing out park your driveway, your strip that's in front of your house for water-wise landscaping. I think that when people hear zero-scape or these water-friendly landscapes, they have a very specific vision that comes to mind with rocks and, that doesn't necessarily look friendly. But I think that as a city, I would like to see us expand our Flip the Strip program to larger yard programs that incentivize removing, those heavy water users like grass and replacing them with, common spaces or more water-friendly amenities there. So I'd like to see that extended. And as far as the storm drain question, I need more information on that.
Whoever wrote that needs to come and tell them we're talking about it. That's right. Tell me what you have done, what things have you served on or done within Far West that makes you qualified to be the mayor or city council person?
Yeah, the extent of my professional career, that I'm proud to talk about the experience and the background and the leadership opportunities that I've had outside of that on a local level. I've served my community in different ways and different measures. Some of that's in a private setting, some of that's in a church setting, some of that is in a volunteer setting as well. Aside from that, being service-based and service-based leadership is kind of at the heart of how I try to live my life and how I strive to help others around me and lead where I can in that effort. I would look forward to leading the city, combining that experience with me and bringing that desire to serve and love my neighbors best I can.
Yeah, so a number of different little things that I've helped out with various projects in the past. I even something as small as sending out reminder text messages for our fishing club that's been happening. So little things like that, I want to say I can show I care about our community, for one, but then I mentioned a few times, I'm on a planning commission, I've been on there for about 3 years now, and that has been an eye-opening experience for me. I used to be one of the guys who would get out and want to say something on Facebook and then pull back. I'm not sure. I think everybody's got things they'd love to say, things they'd love to change. But being on the planning commission has shown me a lot about what actually is required to make changes in the city and how to negotiate those with different people with different perspectives, not always agreeing. And I think that experience is really qualifies me for what I pursue.
Inherent in this position comes a lot of appointments to boards, which are great, but they don't, the benefit maybe is not necessarily seen by you, the resident. So I could list off, those assignments, but I'll spare you. Mosquitoes are awesome to learn about. I have been really involved in the Utah League of Cities and Towns and their education opportunities. They have a conference in the spring and the fall where they offer education to elected officials. on things, everything from budgets to taxes to trails and active transportation. Those have given me an opportunity to bring that education back and share it with my fellow council members and use it in this capacity. I also just completed a mentorship program with a fellow council member in Bountiful, which was very enlightening, with a very a strong relationship with her, with which I can call on in the future for issues that we face, and I find myself having more and more interactions with local cities and elected officials, and I think that ability to network and learn from each other is a huge benefit.
Can we please repeat the question?
What kind of things have you done in the Far West? Now, we know you're the mayor, so obviously you've done some of those things, but what other kinds of things have you done to benefit the Far West?
Okay, so I'm gonna leave out all of the state, regional, and county things. What I've done in Far West is I started off on the planning commission, worked very hard on the planning commission. I was also a part of the Smith Family Park Design Committee. There was a bunch of residents and planning commission and city council that kind of put that together, and that seemed to turn out all right. And I was also a part of, there was a group, a grassroots organization from residents within the city to get broadband throughout the city. And that worked out very well. We got fiber everywhere, so we no longer have that part of the infrastructure to worry about. That used to be something I campaigned on a lot, but I can't campaign on that anymore because it happened. Fishing club, parks committees. I created the Trails and Active Transportation Committee along with, again, got residents and public works and all that involved. And those are all the things that I have helped grow within the city and been involved with in order to get things done.
Okay. One last question, interesting as well. Are you going to continue when your city grows as much as it has to utilize Beaver Sheriff Department, or are you going to open a police force for yourself?
Start, me. You can
I can go first, I think it's Jason.
I think it is too.
I'll go, that's fine. So that's one of the other complaints. I actually, when we were at the ice cream social just the other night, one of the things that almost everybody mentions, well, I see this thing going on here, and where are the police? And the truth is, we are sharing sheriff's department with the cities. And so our law enforcement protection that we have is pretty limited, to be honest. And I've had conversations with the mayor about increasing that kind of law enforcement, and maybe opportunities with that, but as with any other increased benefit to the city, that comes at a cost. Bringing on the cost of a whole new police force just for Far West, I don't think that's unrealistic in the future, probably not today. But it is definitely something that residents seem to be interested in. And so it's just, if we can justify the cost when that time comes.
Well, if you know anything about me, you know that I rely on data, analytics, and research, and I try to incorporate that into every decision that I make as a councilperson. I think that this deserves study to see what the actual cost of it would be, and to see, and then to put that against what we are paying and what we would get, what we're paying currently for the Weber County Sheriffs and the services that we're getting from them. It's been a discussion at every budget session that I've been at is the increased cost of the Weber County, using Weber County Sheriffs, and but I know that the alternative to that brings, a hefty price tag to start your own police force. I also think that there is some creative options maybe that we could explore, whether it's a West Side Community Police Co-op that groups, that we kind of go in together with and start a joint city police force, but I think that it deserves some analysis.
I happened to be in a meeting earlier today at the county. All the cities in Weber County, whether they're contract cities or not with the Sheriff's Department, were there to hear about from the Sheriff's Department some of their costs and some of their cost sharings and how much more it's going to. bottom line, how much more it's gonna cost us all, because even cities who have, their own police departments also have to basically contract with the sheriff's department. There are fees, it's done through the, through the whole county. So, it's expensive. We've actually done studies before. It was, I think it was back in, early 2012, 2013, we studied whether we should have our own police department. Well, the cost then was gonna be, I think it was 1.5 million to get it fired up and 1.2 million to maintain it after that. Can't afford that. We're not as it is right now. So, had an interesting conversation. I know I'm gonna run out of time. Mayor Beasley came up to me afterwards going with an idea, kind of like maybe we could combine police forces with some of the surrounding communities. So that's an option.
Yeah, you ready? I've heard about the shared community opportunity, and that sounds intriguing to me. 2 weeks ago, I went and scheduled some time and met with Sheriff Farr. I wanted to understand how that works and how our relationship with the sheriff's office works and what they do. They do a wonderful job. I mean, their resources are spread, and they probably need more funding for their budget to improve the things that they want to do. But he shared with me a couple of thoughts in that meeting. If we tried to go to our own police force, it would be very costly, like the mayor suggested. The other thing I don't think we often think about, it sounds great to have your own police force, but you wouldn't have your own experts in that force, because it would be too costly. So you think of things like a bomb squad or a SWAT group or whatever. You would still have to rely on and leverage the expertise of Weaver County anyway in some of those environments. So I love the sheriff's office.
I went.
Oh, you went first.
Okay,
I can go again.
I thought you did. You have about a minute and a half now to tell us. I'm gonna do the two mayors first. We'll have, you started the last one, question to you just a minute ago. So we'll start with Dave. You two, a minute and a half. Tell us why you're the best person for this job.
Hey, if my goal, I'm gonna make this clear, if my goal were simply to just roll up my sleeves and work on policies and plans, I would have run for city council or applied to serve on the planning commission. That's where a lot of the hard work is done. I'm grateful for the dedicated men and women who do it. They're awesome. But what I see and what I really feel in my heart, I have a unique opportunity to serve as mayor where I'll be able to use my voice to bring people together, turning our different perspectives into strengths, and try to help heal some of the divisions that I think that we have. I've spent the majority of my adult life in service to do this. My employment, my personal life, doing that with various different groups and working to improve communication, building understanding, and helping others feel loved, heard, and valued would be a great honor to me. As your mayor, I will continue that work in this new capacity, fostering unity, building trust, and leading with love, kindness, and complete transparency. I'm not running because I've always had a seat there. I'm running because I believe more people should have one. No matter their political, religious, or personal background. As your mayor, I'll work to keep residents informed and involved, and I will promote transparency so everyone knows what's happening in our city. I bring a new and fresh perspective, experienced leadership, and long tenured business management, no agendas, no obligations, no favors to anyone, just a genuine focus on serving as your neighbor and friend, and we'll partner with every resident to help preserve our small town character while planning wisely for the future. It would be an honor to earn your vote.
Thank you. Ken?
Okay, well, I've been, I'm gonna say, working towards this job for the last 18 plus years. I worked my way up from the bottom, as I did in my personal career as well. Worked my way up from the bottom. I know almost where all the bodies are buried, but I get to learn more of that every day in so many ways. I've shown my passion, I've shown my hard work, I'm here all the time. I think anybody knows, they can get a hold of me, they know where to find me. Here I am, I'm doing the work now. I will continue to do the work as I continue my mayorship. And I'm doing a good job, or continue to do a good job, but I'm always gonna have an open door, always open to anybody calling me. I think everybody knows, and even occasionally I let them come visit me in my backyard and have a root beer and maybe throw some corn home. So that's me in a nutshell. Thank you.
Okay. These two are not opposed now, so they're already elected. But I appreciate them coming and letting you at least meet who they are and see what their thoughts are. You've already been elected, but why are you gonna do the best job, Jason?
Well, for one, I've already been demonstrating a genuine care and concern for the city, because again, I want this to be the kind of place where not only my kids can grow, but they can someday raise their kids. And I think that that's what most people really look for, especially when they look to a community like Farr West. And I'm going to continue to champion those kinds of sentiments in the decisions that get put before the city council. Part of that is, and I've mentioned this a few times, the natural neighborly mentality that exists here. I'd love to not only preserve that, but also see what we can do to expand that. We have a lot of good people who reach out to each other, but especially after COVID, a lot of that kind of communication broke down. I think it could be repaired a bit. And then another thing, while I do bring a fresh perspective to the city council, I don't want I want to make sure to be grateful for the shoulders of giants I'm standing on coming to this. There have been some tremendous efforts by people who have been before me, and for example, Boyd, who's not doing it this time, be a fantastic member of city council again if he were to ever. And I'd love to learn what I can from him and others who come here before me. And then the last piece is just an example from the traffic committee that put up that I helped to found and they keep running. And that's taken a lot of effort, hard work, and involvement from the people in the community.
Well, it is my honor. I honestly mean that from the depths of my heart that I get to continue this work for another 4 years. I've shown my dedication and commitment to this position through applying for and receiving nearly upwards of $1 million in grant funding for our city. I look forward to continuing to do that. That's money that doesn't come out of you, the residents' pocket, that's available to us as cities. I pride myself on coming prepared to every single city council meeting and doing my research and researching the code. And if there's one thing that you'll see if you watch university council meetings, I'm always the one with questions. And I think that that is important to have those discussions in the open and to continue to be prepared and to be that voice and work in collaboration moving forward with our with the council and our mayors. Mayor.
We want thank you so much. Thank you guys for coming, and thank you people for participating. That it's not fun sitting up there and being put on the spot. So you have fun?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll have your head exam soon. But I appreciate the fact that they did that. Everybody should give them a round of applause. Good luck to all of them. Well, 2 of them already did, so you already have to good luck. Will you vote? This is a nonpartisan election. Parties shouldn't matter. Don't need to worry about crossing the party. Pick the person who does the best job for you and your family. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jason. It'll be right when they.
I haven't done that yet.